Shalom, Yasharala. This your boy, Brother Samuel, back at you with another edifying video, right? And this is going to be part two of why so many questions, right? Why do you have so many questions, right? So first and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Kahala Yahweh, Ba'ashem Mashiach Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakak Radash. That's all praises to the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son's name, who you ignorantly call Jesus, whose name is Yahweh Shai, right? And the Holy Spirit. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone from Tahar on down, who have ruled well through the Spirit, who have fed and edified the sheep, right? Another double honors to the elders who have paved the way in these last days, right? And who have pushed this truth to the four corners of the earth, right? So this is a continuation of, why do you have so many questions, right? And what I'm trying to relay here is, guess what? A lot of these questions that you're asking, and a lot of questions that I get, from people, guess what? You can go right to these scriptures, and you'll get the understanding, right? So this is just part two, because I had some more questions, that I wanted to go over, right? Mainly, really, just one more question, right? Because a lot of our people, right? This is my question to you, right? You ask so many questions, yet you sit in church, right? Why? Right? A lot of our people have all these questions, and they're sitting in church, and guess what? Their pastor doesn't answer these questions. Their pastor doesn't answer these questions, right? It says, why doesn't the pastor have these questions or have these answers to these questions? Right? We got to understand that there's a reason, right? And the scriptures tell us, right? So it's, our people, we have so many questions about everything, right? And what's so amazing about, like I say, these scriptures is there's an answer to every question in these scriptures, right? We just got to have that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to go through and get it. And, like one of the main questions, that I would just ask, you, right, who have these questions is, you probably sit in church, you probably sit, wherever, the synagogue, wherever it may be, but you have all these questions, and why doesn't your pastor have the answers, right? So let's get this. Let's answer it, right? We're just going to answer it right now, right? Through the power of Yahweh Shem Shai Barakatah. This is the book of Ezekiel, right? Chapter 22 and verse number 26, right? And it reads, her priests have violated my law and have profaned mine holy things, right? So the scriptures say that the priests, right, or these pastors, whoever, that they have violated my law, right? They don't even know the law of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, right? It says they have profaned my holy things, right? Holy means set apart, right? When you go to the scriptures, man, right? It says they have put no difference between the holy, right, or the set apart, and the profane, right? Those are things that are abominable. It says neither have they showed difference between the unclean and the clean, right? When you think about this stuff, right? I'm just going to read this, right? It says, and they have hid their eyes from my Sabbaths, and I am profaned among them, right? So ultimately, the reason why you're not getting these answers is because they don't have the answers. They don't know what's going on, right? And you're sitting in these churches, right? These simple questions that you're asking they should be able to go to a scripture and give you a Bible verse, right? But they don't, They don't. They tell you don't question God. Well, you're not questioning God. You're asking questions. And you should be able to go through these scriptures and give the people the answers that they're looking for. That's how you feed the sheep. Feed the sheep with the knowledge, the wisdom, and understanding of these scriptures, right? So let's go through this real quick. Ezekiel 22 and 26, it says, her priests have violated my law, right? Because they don't keep the laws of the Most High, right? It says, and have profaned my holy things, right? We talked about that, which is, holy means set apart. They put no difference between the set apart or holy and profane, neither have they showed the difference between unclean and clean. Right? When I think about that, what's the clean and unclean? Right? You'll literally have a church. You'll have you go to church on Sunday, right? And what'll happen, right? You'll talk about. You might read one scripture, right? And the rest of the time you're singing songs, and you know the pastor, the priest he's just talking for 3 hours about nothing, man. He's not pulling out no scriptures, right? Not trying to edify you with nothing. It's just his own vain glory that he's doing at the end day, right? And then what happens, right? You go after, and then you might eat abominable things, right? You go down to their cafeteria or wherever they might have, hey, they tell you, during the after church, I want you to stop by, by the front door and pick up your catfish dinner, right? Understanding that catfish is unclean, right? According to Leviticus 11:7, right? Or shrimp dinner, or, all these different things, right? Or a ham dinner. We want you to eat this Easter dinner, or, we're going to have a Thanksgiving feast, like all these things, these unholy things that these churches have taught and profaned our people, right? And they've hid their eyes from the Sabbath, right? We ultimately now, we had the understanding, that, the Sabbath, right, is based on the new moon, right? How do you know that? You got to go to the scriptures, and you got to ask the Lord to give you wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to get that insight, right? But a lot of us, hey, they just keep Sunday. Nope, Sunday is it, Sunday, the first day of the week, right? They go to the New Testament, right? When Paul's talking about, the first day of the week, gather it's the first day of the week. Well, hold on, where does it say that, right? But that's the thing, because they have no knowledge, they don't have the understanding, and they violate the laws, right? And now they profane, or they've profaned, right, or they've tarnished, right, among the Most High and His law, statutes, and commandments, right, and His wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. They profaned it among them and among their congregation, among their people, right? They should be able to show you, in the law, or whatever. They should be able to show you in the scriptures any question that you have to them. They should be able to answer that. They should be able to go to the scriptures and give you an answer, right? And let's get this, right? And so what happens too is, they built these churches, they built these different places, the synagogues, right? All these different places that our people are going to, right? Because our people have, like I brought out in Romans, in the first video, our people have the zeal of the Most High, but they don't have it according to the knowledge, right? So now they go into these places, right? Looking for the knowledge of the Most High because they have that zeal, but they're not getting the knowledge because the priests don't know what's going on, right? These pastors, these priests, they don't know what's going on, right? Let's get this, right? So now, our people are caught up in, religion. We're caught up in all these different things, right? When the Bible tells us that these scriptures, this is our heritage. This is our history. This has nothing to do with a religion. This is our history right here. This is who we were as a people and who we got to come back to be, right? To be accepted of the Most High, right? Through His Son, Yahweh Shai, right? Who is our mediator, right? So this is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and I'm going to go to verse number 64, right? And it reads, and it says, and Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth, even unto the other. So one of the curses, right, if we didn't follow, that the Lord was going to scatter us among all people. That's why you can go anywhere and you'll find a so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American, because we're just scattered throughout, right? It says, and there thou shalt serve other gods, right? And you say, well, what do you mean? It says, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone, right? So these gods are going to be a wood and stone, right? And if you have ears to hear, you have understanding that, right? These gods of wood, right? The wood represents Christianity, right? Catholicism that a lot of our people are in, right? We had that zeal, but guess what? Not according to the knowledge. So now we ran right to these other gods, these gods of wood, right? With Caesar Borgia, who they portray as Jesus, right? That's what our people are running to. That's their wood, right? And then it says, and stone. And what is that stone? That stone represents Islam, right? Or the cobblestone, right? That god of the cobblestone, right? And so our people are running to that, right? And they'll run around in a circle around a rock, right? 20, 30 times, whatever it is, right? But that's what our people are caught up in, and they have no understanding, right? Because the priests, right, and they've taught them all the wrong, they profaned them, right? And ultimately these are curses that are upon them, right? So when you understand and why these pastors and priests don't have these knowledge and understanding, right? Because you out here serving a religion, you out here serving these gods, man. When you out here serving these religions, you out here serving these other gods, and we know, let's get this right. We talk about the 10 Commandments, right? So this is Deuteronomy chapter 5, right? And let's read verse 6. It says, I am Yahweh thy power, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage, right? It says, thou shalt have no other gods before me, right? That's the first thing he tells you, that thou shalt have no other gods before me, right? But what do? We ran off and served other gods of wood and stone, of Christianity and of Islam, right? But guess what? Your pastors can't tell you that because they don't have the understanding, right? And let's get this, right? This is, and see, pride gets on them too, right? When you tell them that, right? Well, how you tell me I went to seminary school and I know this, and I know that, and I was taught? Who were you taught by, right? If the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, man, they control everything, right? Including this place that you go to get your religion, right? Think about that, right? So this is the book of Malachi, chapter 2 and verse number 7. And it reads, for the priest's lips should keep knowledge, right? The priest's lips should keep knowledge. And we know that the priest's lips are not keeping knowledge, right? It says, and they should seek the law out at his mouth. Who are they? You ones who are sitting in the church, right? Who's wondering why, life is so bad for you. You're a good person. You go to church every Sunday. You do this, you do that. And why is life treating you like the way it's treating you? Right? It says, for the priest's lips should keep knowledge. What's the knowledge, right? The laws, statutes, and commandments, the understanding, right? This wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? Of who the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, is, and His only begotten Son, Yahushua, is, right? Their names, the whole nine, right? It says, for the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and they should seek the law at his mouth. For he is the messenger of Yahweh B'Shem Yahshai of hosts, right? Or Yahweh of hosts, right? He's the messenger, right? Messenger, another word is an angel, right? But angel means messenger, right? It could be another, but guess what? He's supposed to be relaying that message, right, of these scriptures to you. And he can't even do that but his lips are supposed to keep that knowledge, right? Not some seminary school, rhetoric, but the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of these scriptures. So when you have a question, you could be able to go to him and he should be able to tell you, right? You said they should seek the law at his mouth. You should be able to ask, what is this going on? I'm having this problem and I'm dealing with this, and they should be able to go to the scriptures, right? Or why is this happening? You should be able to go to the scriptures and pinpoint it out, huh? Right? But this is why the scriptures also say, let's get this, in the book of Jeremiah, right, chapter 23 and verse number 1. And it reads, it says, "Woe unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, saith Yahweh." Right? Say woe. So woe means destruction. Destruction unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, saith Yahweh. Right? Why? Because they don't keep the knowledge. They don't keep the knowledge, you know, of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Right? They profane, right, Yahweh and his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai. Right? They don't keep the Sabbath. Right? They don't do any of that. They have no difference between the holy and the profane, right? The unclean and the clean. Right? Don't do none of that. Right? And now they've caused you to be scattered. And that's why there's when you go outside, especially where you Jakes live, right? You go out there and what happens? It's about 5 churches. It's 2 churches right next to each other. Right? They battling, and what are they? They all battling for your money at the end of the day, right? They all want you to give them money, right, so they can feed you lies and tell you lies, right? And that's the problem, right? Because they don't have the understanding, and they have scattered you. Now you're running away. You're trying to, and you leave the church, right? You go to church all this time, and because you have that zeal. But then you end up leaving because you see that something wrong up in there. You just like, this ain't right, man. Something, this not what, something is, it just don't feel right or work in your soul, and you end up leaving, right? And some people, they get complacent and they'll stay in that. They'll stay in the crap, instead of just leaving, But our people, because that zeal, they'll stay in there. And not have that wisdom and understanding, and they'll be lost, right? And this is what the scriptures say, right? So if this is true, that means, what was happening was all part of the scriptures, right? This is the book of 2 Chronicles chapter 15 verse 3. It says, "Now for a long season Israel have been without the true power, or the true God, right? And without a teaching priest, and without law," right? So for a long time, we've been going to these churches, right, that haven't taught us anything. Been sitting in there for hours at a time, and then you come out, right, and they play with your emotions, so your emotions is high, and you're doing that. And then what? You go right back to being wicked and doing all the folly that you was doing right before you had to go there, right? Before you went there, right? And then you get convicted and you kind of go there again, right? And you sit up in there and they play with your emotions again. You give them money. They make you feel good when you leave, right? You think everything is okay, right? You end up dying, and then you're wondering why, the judgment that you get is the judgment that you get, because you've been out without your true power, man, which is Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai at the end of the day, and without a teaching priest, and without the law, right? And what's happening now is, guess what? The Most High is starting to reveal himself again, right? He's starting to reveal himself back in these last days and show his people what this truly is, right? So when you're asking these questions, you should be asking, well, what's this movie that everybody's talking about? What is this talking about, that we're the Israelites? Right? And they'll probably say, "Hey, don't worry about that." They'll try to cover that up, right? Because they get paid to cover these things up. They don't want to tell you the truth, right? They don't want to tell you the truth, right? Let's get this. This is the book of Isaiah, right? Chapter 29 and verse number 13. And it reads, it says, "Wherefore Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai saith, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men." Right? So you get in these churches, right? And they teach you all these lies, man. God is love all the time. God, loves everybody and he wants everybody to be saved. Uh, what's these other things that they say, right? But then our people, right? They get in the church and they, oh yes, I love God, I love the but then they don't have no understanding, right? They say it, and then, well, hey, do you want to hear the Bible? No, I ain't got time for that. You know, you don't have time for the Lord? I ain't got time to read that Bible. No. God knows, he knows my heart. That's what our people say. God knows me in the inside, and he knows, how I feel. Well, does he? Does he really? He does know. But do you have that understanding, right? And that's what we got to understand, that guess what? A lot of times, you know, we draw near with the mouth, but then when it's time to bring that action, they leave, right? Lord say, go out on those highways and hedges, right, and compel my people to the marriage, right? And people, nah, I can't do that. I gotta do this, right? Or somebody tell you, oh well, yeah, why don't you, instead of doing that, why don't you go do this? No, man, we gotta do the work of the Lord, man, right? And that's what's gonna separate, right? Those ones who are legit, right? Who are true followers of Yahweh Shem Shai, and who's not, man. Right at the end day, man. Right? You got to put that action into it. Right? And it says their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men. Right? And now these churches, right? You talk to God the way you have that personal understanding. You could talk to him the way. No, man, that's not how the scriptures tell you. The scriptures tell you how you are to worship Yahweh B'Shem Yahshai. Right? You just don't do it any other way, man. Right? You got to go in these scriptures and find out why, find out how, and how to do so. Right? How to love them. Right? You ask people, well, how do you love them? How do you love the Most High? Oh, well, you love them. You love people, and you do this and you do that, and that's how you love, right? You do good. Well, what is good? What is the love, right? And then a lot of our people, they don't understand, and we got to go to the scriptures. Like, hey, it's okay you don't understand, because we know that the way you were taught by men who don't know, who don't have the understanding and wisdom and knowledge, right? So we go, hey, let's go to the scriptures and find out, right? Not our words, but the words of Yahweh B'Shem Shai, right? So we go, 1 John 5:3. It says, for this is the love of the Most High, right? Or Yahweh, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous, right? Grievous means they're not hard to do, right? So if we show that we love the Most High, right? Guess what? We'll go out there and actually try to attempt to do it to our best ability to try to keep the law, right? One of the laws is loving our brothers like we love ourselves, right? Let's go to verse 2. It says, by this we know that we love the children of the Most High, when we love the Most High and we keep his commandments, right? And for this is the love of the Most High, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. Grievous means they're not hard. They're not grievous. They're not a hard thing to do, right? But in these churches, they teach you, you can't keep the law. You can't do it. You can't, they teach you that, right? And then our people basically, before they even try, they already lose, because they don't even try. They just give up. Well, yeah, you're right. I can't keep it, so I might as well not keep any of them. No, man, you still got to make an effort and try, right? That's how the Lord is trying your heart, to see if you are even capable of even trying and doing it. And that's where ultimately, when I think about Christianity has destroyed our people, because it just makes us so docile and passive, right? It turns our men effeminate. Right, but it makes us not even try to even do the law, statutes, and commandments. You just give up. You don't even try, right? And if you don't try, you'll never succeed or win. And that's the ultimate, trick of the devil, right there, man. Right. All right. Let's get So okay, so knowing that, right? Now and when you're asking these questions that that you can go to the Bible, you can go to these scriptures and find out, right? Let's get this, right? Um, ultimately we got to understand this is the book of Revelation, chapter 1 and verse 3. It says, "Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand." Right? So ultimately, we got to understand that, us reading these scriptures, right? When we read, we're going to get understanding. We're going to be blessed, right? How are we going to be blessed? We're going to be blessed with this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of who we are, of what's going on, of the answers of why things happen, the way they happen, we get this understanding. But the only way we can do that is if we read and get that, right? Because ultimately, the Most High gave us the ultimate gift, right? Let me go to this Psalms 147, and I believe it's verse 19, right? And it reads, "He showeth his word unto Jacob," or Jacob, right? It says in Jacob, right, the forefather of the Israelites, right? The 12 tribes, right? You so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? So he showed his word unto you, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel, right? You are Israel. You are the Israelites, right? It says, verse 20, "He have not dealt so with any nation." So no other nation has got this where the Most High has showed the word, right? All you have to do as a so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American is to ask the Lord to give you that understanding, to give you that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, man. He said he gives it to you freely, right? He said he had not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye Yahweh, right? Only we have known the judgments that the Most High has put on us because we disobeyed his laws and his voice, right? Of his law, statutes, and commandments, right? And his word, right? We've disobeyed that. So we have faced the Most High's judgment. They don't know the judgments of the Lord, right? We know it, right? When we go outside and we see, the yellow tape put up, or we look on the news, right? And we see, children missing, all types of things, man. We get this judgment ultimately, right? Because the word was given to us, right? And the word, right? Which, let me get this real quick, Salakia. Deuteronomy 4 and 5, right? It says, "Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh my power commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people." Right? So the Most High had basically separated you and gave you this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? For your wisdom inside of the other nations, right? Because these other nations, they was doing all types of abominable things, right? They was, when you think about it, right? The reason why they were kicked out of the land because they were doing all types of abominable things, right? And these laws was, and commandments were to help us. Hey, don't be like them, right? Don't be sleeping with the mother and the daughter, right? Don't be doing bestiality or whatever, There's all these different stipulations that the Most High has put in us, right? But we lost that. We lost our way and we lost our understanding, right? Ultimately by us disobeying the voice of the Lord, right? And through the prophecies of what was going to happen, right? Because we did so, right? So we got to understand that this is our wisdom, And so now that we know, and that we know that we can go here and through the scriptures and we can get understanding, right? We got to do some things, man, right? Let's get this, right? This is the book of Romans, right? Chapter 13. And verse number 11, it says, and that knowing, right? So now that you know that the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, right? Wake up out of your slumber, man, your spiritual slumber. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed that the night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness and let us put on the armor of light, right? So when we start to shed away all these cares of the world and the things of this world and come back to our power, right? How about Shem Shai, right? Then he gives us this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that we can, when we have questions, we can go to the scriptures and we can get these answers, right? Let's get this one. This is the book of Isaiah 52, and I'm going to start at verse number 1. And it reads, awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion, right? Zion is Israel, or you Israelites, right? So-called Black, Spanish, Native Americans, right? It's a people before it's a place, right? Put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, right? Talking about you, the holy city, right? We are the temples of the Most High, right? For henceforth there shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and the unclean. It says, shake thyself from the dust, arise and sit down, O Jerusalem. Loose thyself from the bands of thy neck, O captive daughter of Zion. Right? So now, we're no longer are we shackled about the neck of our lack of knowledge, man. Right? We've been able to take these spiritual chains of our mental distress and our mental of not knowing like who we are, not knowing why things happen. All these things, we've been able to take that spiritual shackle off of our neck, right? That according to Deuteronomy 28, and I believe it's 48 or 47, or no, 48, where it says he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he hath destroyed you, right? This is the time for us to wake up and sit down and loose the self of the bands and the restraints of why we're going through this, right? You don't have to be asking these questions of why you're going through this, right? Now you should be able to go through these scriptures and find out what's going on, right? And it says, shake thyself from the dust, arise and sit down, O Jerusalem. Loose thyself from the bands of thy neck, O captive daughter of Zion, right? It's talking about you Israelites, man, right? It says, loose thyself from the bands of thy neck, right? So this is that time to get ourselves and break ourselves free from this wicked place, man. That's why the Most High said that this is not our rest, man. We can't get comfortable here, right? Right? And this is ultimately, when we get this understanding and we're able to come to these scriptures and find out what's going on, right? And all these questions, and we can understand, of what's to come too, right? We know that, hey, ultimately Jacob's trouble is coming up, you got the hour of temptation, right? You got the MO to the TB with the C hip that's coming up pretty soon. We see all these different, videos and these things of how they're planning on implementing it, and trying to push this thing, right? They're trying to show you how easy society was going to be, right? By putting this, right? It tells you that, through the scriptures, it tells us, hey, that guess what? If you take this, right, you're going to have grievous sores, right? That sore is going to be like cancer, right? Because you're putting something in a foreign in your body, right? That you're going to have cancer and ultimately you're going to be destroyed, right? Because guess what? You have chosen the ways, right, of the wicked rather than choosing the Most High, who is ultimately your salvation in these last days, right? But all these questions can be answered. You just got to go to the scriptures. It already tells you it's already played out. The Most High has already written this, and it's already there for our knowledge and understanding, right? So this is the book of John, chapter 8, and verse number 32, right? So ultimately, right, this is Yahushua. It says, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free, right? The truth is going to loose the bands from off your neck, O captive daughter of Zion, or you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, because you are the Israelites. You are Zion, right? It says, when you know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Right, so now you can get understanding, right? When you understand, about regeneration or reincarnation, that the Bible talks about, and then you can understand, well, how does a 1-year-old, get killed, right? What did they do, right? These questions that our people ask all the time, right? You find that you get understanding, right? When you learn this truth, and the truth is ultimately what's going to set you free and give you, that peace that you have of understanding these scriptures and knowing, ultimately, right, that our power, right, and our salvation, our hope, our faith, right, all lies in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai at the end of the day, right? And this is what we got to understand, right? Let's get this, right? And I'm going to close it out, right? This is the book of Revelation, chapter 14 and verse number 12. Ultimately, this is our rest, right? If you ultimately take, the MO to the TB, right, that you're not going to have rest, but rest comes to those who are patient, right? Let me read this. This is Revelation 14:11. It says, this is talking about the MO to the TV. It says, and the smoke of their torment ascended up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name, right? You get the mark of his name, hey, you ultimately you're not gonna have rest, right? Because you're gonna be, Esau's property at that point, and ultimately you got to be destroyed, right? But it says, here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of the Most High and the faith of Yahweh Shai, right? So ultimately, when you got to understand, when all these things are happening, all these questions, hey man, you got to understand that you got to have the patience, and you got to understand the saints. The saints are the Israelites, right? There's precepts on that, right? Here are they who keep the commandments, right? So we try to our best ability, right, to uphold the commandments. We do what we can, right? And the faith of Yahweh Shai, because ultimately we had to have that faith that, guess what? Yahweh Shai is coming back to redeem us and to save us, right? And then salvation comes when Yahweh Shai comes to save us, and not until then, right? We got to keep striving and keep, going through perfection, right? So, ultimately, we have a lot of our people have so many questions, right? Because they don't understand the scriptures and they haven't been taught the scriptures, right? So, hopefully this has been edifying video, right? This kind of popped up to me. I woke up this morning and, these questions popped in my head and scriptures started popping in my head. And I was like, I got to do a lesson. I didn't know it was going to be this long, so Salakia for that. But, and hey, if you got, questions and you got, precepts, for questions, and you can post them in the chat, but with that, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory. I'd like to say, Kahala Yahweh, Bahashem Mashiach Yahushai, Bahashem Rachakodash. Peace and blessings to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, right? Ask questions. Look at the Bible, right? It has the answers. It has the answers to everything that you can think of, right? So with that, I want to give a mighty shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, right? To the hopeful elect of you, you mighty men, right? You few sisters and children, right? Stay strong. Keep praying for one another. Keep fasting, right? Keep reading, right? And keep studying and keep examining yourself, right? Keep examining yourself to make sure that you are in the faith, man, in these last days, right? And with that, shalom.